Let's start with some breaking news. Apparently, widespread lying and deceit may have some consequences.
And we are back with our breaking news coverage. Just as opening statements were set to begin in what was going to be a historic trial, Dominion Voting Systems suing Fox for defamation, lawyers on both sides reached a settlement, an absolutely enormous settlement. A lawyer for Dominion announced that Fox would be paying Dominion $787,500,000.
Wow. $787 million. That is a ton of money. And Fox was already strapped for cash. Tucker Carlson can only afford one facial expression. And look, I'm glad there's some accountability here, but still, I'm pretty disappointed we're not going to get a trial because all the Fox anchors would have been forced to testify. It would have been like the Seinfeld finale, but instead of soup Nazis, it's just Nazis. Since Fox is going to have to pay nearly $1 billion, they'll need to implement cost-cutting measures. Sadly, they have to fire Brian Kilmeade's reading tutor. Jeanine Pirro has to switch to the cheap box of wine. Development on a third Dulcé has been halted. They're going to have to switch from Jesse Waters to Tap Waters. And, of course, they're going to have to put down Sean Hannity. This weekend was the National NRA Convention, also known as Cargo Pants Comic-Con, or the Westminster Stepdad Show. Now, people like to stereotype NRA members as gun-obsessed whack jobs who want to arm little babies. And the thing about stereotypes is sometimes they're spot on.
I've got 3 kids, 2 son-in-laws, and did you know that I'm also a grandmother? Not just once, but twice. Have 2 beautiful grandchildren. Little Miss Addie, who is almost 2, and Branch, who's just a few months old. Now, Addie, who, soon will need them, I want to reassure you, she already has a shotgun and she already has a rifle. And she's got a little pony named Sparkles, too, so the girl is set up.
Wow. That's the governor of South Dakota bragging about her 2-year-old granddaughter owning guns. Bold. When my kid was little, I was covering outlets, locking cabinets, and cutting grapes in half because they might be a choking hazard. Kristi Noem is like, here's a shotgun, you're on watch tonight, 6 separate Tyrannus. Look, I know liberals and conservatives don't agree on much, but can we agree that you should not own a gun if you don't know how to poop in a potty? Although it is adorable that she has a pony named Sparkles. In fact, if you'll excuse me for a second, I need to address Sparkles directly. Sparkles, this will not end well for you. These people are clearly insane. Run while you still can. There is no time for goodbyes. Go! Go, my friend, go! Okay. No. Look. To be clear, I'm not bringing up Kristi Noem just to make fun of her grandkids. I would never do that. They've got guns. I'm bringing up Kristi Noem because she gave us a great insight into what creates the worldview of an NRA member.
My dad taught us life lessons. He taught us common sense, and often those were taught during our hunting trips. For instance, I remember being only about 9 or 10 years old, and we had hunted all day, miles and miles from camp in the high country in the Bighorn Mountains, when my dad turned to me and he said, Kristi, hunt your way back to camp. I'm going to go around this ridge and I'll meet you there at dark. And he disappeared over the ridge. Now, to a 10-year-old girl, this was terrifying. And as strange noises came and darkness fell, I had to rely on my instincts and my horse to find my way back to our tent. Now, years later, Mom shared with me that my dad had followed me at a safe distance all the way back to camp to make sure that I got there safe. Now, before you get all warm and fuzzy on him, I also want to tell you that he made bear noises the whole time he was following me. Scratching trees and growling at me, so,
What an adorable story about alcoholism. Excuse me one second. Seriously, Sparkles, this family is nuts. Get out of there. Trust no one. Let's move on to something else that's quintessentially American. People losing their shit on airplanes.
We turn now to a Southwest passenger's outburst over a crying baby that forced the plane to land before its destination.
Who are that baby's for?
This morning, it's a midair meltdown of epic proportions aboard one Southwest flight, not just from the baby on board, but also from an adult passenger.
We are in a tin can with a baby in a goddamn echo chamber, and you want to talk to me about being okay?
Okay, because you're yelling.
So is the baby.
So is the baby? I don't care what the situation is, that is never a strong argument. Oh, so a baby can poop its pants in public, but I'm getting thrown out of this TJ Maxx? Yeah, this guy totally lost it. I mean, somebody should have checked their emotional baggage. It's Southwest, that's an extra $50.
Other states are waging kind of wars against different, parts of their population. I think a lot of politicians just want to pick fights and get headlines, and whether it's picking a fight with Mickey Mouse or moving backwards to the early 1900s, it's so much easier to show up and to listen to people and know what really matters. So we're trying to make Michigan a place where every business can thrive and every person has rights and freedoms to make their own decisions and to live the life they want and be successful here in Michigan.
You're progressive on guns, on abortion rights. It feels like the Michigan hand. It's a welcoming hand.
It is. It's freedom.
It's freedom. If Michigan is a hand, what is Florida? It looks like a...
What?
I mean, it looks like a...
Okay, I'm not going there.
I'm just saying. And it's...
One peninsula.
It's one peninsula that's urinating on our democracy. At times.
Your words.
My words. Fair. Luckily, there are people out there doing the hard work of real investigative journalism. People like Bruce Willingham. He runs the McCurtain Gazette News out of middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. Now, Bruce suspected that the local sheriff and other officials were doing county business after meetings ended. So he secretly recorded them. And when he played the tape back, he heard them talking about him and his son, who is also a reporter, and it was not flattering.
The recordings captured the group talking about hiring hitmen to kill the reporters and where the bodies could be hidden.
I've known 2 or 3 hitmen that were very quiet guys. Yeah. And would cut no mercy. Yeah. I know where 2 big deep holes are if you ever need them. I got an excavator. And these are like pre-dug.
Oh, holy shit. You can't threaten to kill journalists in a council meeting. Keep that shit on Twitter like a normal person. Although you can tell that some people were a little more integral to this plot than others, because one guy was like, I know 2 hitmen. And another guy is like, and I know 2 holes. Yeah, thanks for the contribution, Larry. We'll let you know if we need to use your connection with the holes. And by the way, how strapped for time are people in this town that they have to pre-dig murder holes? Are you so f***ing busy that you can't do the hole after you do the murder? Or maybe it's like carrying an umbrella. Like the day you don't have the hole is when you end up killing someone. Now look, it would be bad enough if plotting to throw local journalists into holes, pre-dug or otherwise, was all that the county sheriff and his friends were caught doing on these tapes. But guess what? They moved on to something else.
On that same audio recording, the people talking shared their dismay that lynching black people is no longer acceptable.
I'm going to tell you something. If it was back in the day, would they not take a damn blackjack, whoop their ass, and throw them in the cell? I'd run for chair. Yeah. Well, it's not like that no more. I know. Take them down here on Mud Creek and hang them up with the damn rope. Yeah. But you can't do that. Think about it, they got more rights than we got.
Wow. Someone tell these cops that they have the right to remain silent. And you could tell this thing was going to go badly as soon as they said back in the day. No sentence in the South ever goes well after the phrase back in the day. It's never like back in the day we lived in a rich multicultural tapestry. What's crazy is these reporters weren't even looking for racism and assassination plots. They were hoping to catch improper meeting procedures. It's like if you put a security camera up in the office to see which employee was stealing your yogurts, and you caught them doing a human sacrifice. You'd be like, oh my God, I've stumbled upon the most unholy rituals, and oh my God, they're eating my Chobani! You're gonna hopefully sell that inside?
Yes.
Do you need a license? Can you just kind of go into the gun show and...
You try to find somebody that wants to buy it, or you find what you want to buy.
And then if somebody's like, I'm interested, I'll buy it, then what do you do?
First of all, you kind of like look them over.
Is that what a background check is here in Tulsa?
I mean, this isn't where people are going to come to maliciously get guns, mostly.
Why not? I guess if I was like, I need to get a gun quick to do bad shit, this is actually exactly where I would come. How much is that going for?
About 900.
What if I came up there and was like, I don't know, I had a little bit of a rough day. My wife just broke up with me. I'm feeling a little on edge. How much for your gun?
Well, I ain't gonna sell it to somebody that looks stupid, you know, or looks like he's like crazy as shit, you know.
What if I say the words of somebody who's crazy as shit, but I look composed like I do right now?
I'd probably sell it to you.
Now, I don't want to spend every day this week talking about guns, but this is America and it's not giving me a choice. Because maybe you've noticed that a lot of this week's gun violence had something in common.
They are the things that happen all the time. A mixed up address, pulling into the wrong driveway, or confusing one car from another. Yet remarkably, for a third time in a week, seemingly innocent moments of confusion have led to bloodshed. From Kansas City, where a teen who approached the wrong doorstep is recovering from 2 bullet wounds, to New York State, where a 20-year-old woman was fatally shot after the car she was in accidentally drove up the wrong driveway. And now in Elgin, Texas, a high school cheerleader has been shot and seriously wounded after her friend apparently approached the wrong car.
Police say Peyton Washington and Heather Roth were in a parking lot when Roth opened a car she thought was one of their own and saw a man inside. Roth says the man started firing as she was apologizing.
Does anyone else watching these stories feel like they're losing their goddamn minds? I mean, call me old-fashioned, but whatever happened to asking a person one question? Are you confused about why a stranger is at your house? Before you open fire, open your mouth and just ask them, can I help you? It's not that hard. Look, I know you have Second Amendment rights, America, but you also have First Amendment rights. Use them. See, we're paying attention to them now. We pay attention now because a few of them happened in 1 week. But what's wild is these wrong place shootings happen all the time. Because America is a country where every day too many people are armed, scared, and end up using lethal force because Google Maps didn't update. I mean, what does it say when the most dangerous job in America is Jehovah's Witness? You know what? You know how bad things have gotten? Remember that couple in St. Louis, the McCloskeys? A couple of years ago, they went out onto their front yard and pointed their guns at protesters. And they got a lot of shit for it. But you know what? They didn't fire on anybody. And I never thought I'd say this, but please, America, be more like these gun nuts. But we haven't been showing men what they should be. And that matters to young boys who are looking for an identity, for a narrative about what it means to be a man. And that vacuum is being filled by people with the worst possible idea of manhood.
Former kickboxer and Big Brother contestant Andrew Tate, infamous for being the self-proclaimed king of toxic masculinity. Tate's core message centers around the belief that masculinity is in the crosshairs, and he's defending it. His target audience, young men.
This whole idea of being toxically masculine is complete garbage. I think the most dangerous men on earth are the weak men. Feel. Leave the feelings to the girls, right? That's what they do. We act. We're men of action. Empowering females is the easiest way to weaken the will of men.
Study. Give up your whole life in school. Then you get to be a doctor. You can't even buy a sports car.
The problem with most of you is that I am sitting here with my sunglasses, bald head, millions of dollars, nearly unmatched fighting skills. I am Morpheus. I need action. I need constant chaos in my life to feel content. I need to be driving a supercar and fighting a bunch of champagne and going crazy.
Okay, we get it. You have a small penis. I mean, even through the video, you can tell this guy wears too much cologne. And by the way, not to tarnish his sparkling image, but Andrew Tate is currently under investigation for human trafficking. I know, it's always the first one you suspect. Now, maybe you don't know Andrew Tate. Maybe you're thinking, who is this porn parody Vin Diesel? You may not know him, but trust me, your sons do.
With over 13 billion views on TikTok, Tate's rhetoric is moving from online to the classroom.
So I'm a teacher, and I teach 6th grade. The amount of young 11-year-old boys that have told me that they love Andrew Tate is ridiculous.
One teacher says she hears blatant misogyny from the boys in her class, hearing them say that girls belong in the kitchen and only exist for reproduction. And another claiming they talk about alphas in 6th grade now.
One teacher in South London noticed that his students were parodying Tate's ideology. About a third of the 30 students in the class passionately argued that women were responsible for their own sexual assaults, one of Tate's top lines.
Wow. Times have really changed. When I was in 6th grade, the most toxic role model for boys was Michelangelo. He eats pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That turtle doesn't give a I mean, seriously, how can you be misogynistic in 6th grade? That's like the one year in life where all the girls are bigger than you. I wouldn't be running my mouth about Allison if Allison could hang me by my underwear on the flagpole. The solution to this problem is not to cancel Andrew Tate. Interpol is probably going to do that for us. Because even if he disappeared, someone else would take his place and spew toxic shit at young boys just as well. And social media algorithms would pump it into young boys' eyes and ears just as fast. Because that's really all this is about. Andrew Tate is not interested in being a role model. He wants clicks for money. He doesn't want to raise your son. He's taken dad's seat at the table, but he's really the loudmouth uncle. That uncle who seems cool when you're a kid, but when you grow up, you realize living in a hotel is not a vacation.